couple minutes for people to hop on, but I think we can kind of get started. I just want to make sure we leave enough room for Matt to share his thoughts on all of these topics, and so that we can also get some time for Q&A and all of that good stuff too. So
Yep. So today's Turn Your Pain into Purpose, workshop is really going to be based around entrepreneur, business owner, and leader with such an amazing dude in Mathew Park. Like, he has so much wisdom. I'm so excited to share you guys with him. It's one of my favorite things to do is share people. And the first story that I'm going to talk about is an individual that led his life that way. We went through our own, from a business standpoint, we went through our own earlier this year, Turn Your Pain into Purpose situation where our good friend, one of our very best friends and business partners, Travis, just died just suddenly. And this was February of earlier this year. We had just signed partnerships. We were so excited about the future. This guy was just a unicorn of a human being. And he led in a way to just, he knew the gift that he had, and he just shared that with the world. And he was just one of those really infectious people that I just loved being around. And anyone that had met Trav felt the exact same way. One of those guys that, within 15 to 30 seconds, your life was changed, and he knew the gift that he had. So, we had just partnered up. February, we get a call that no one wants to get. And we had just talked to Trav, and all of a sudden we hear from Britt's mom that, essentially Trav had passed away on a snowmobile. And I'm just like, what? Like, no, obviously there's the business side, but even more importantly, like, this is one of our best friends. And, and we're trying to grieve and everything else. And, I end up having to call a majority of his friends and tell that story over and over and over again. And come to find out, he was wrapped around a tree. We thought initially that it was a snowmobile accident, and ended up coming out that he ended up having an aneurysm, so he felt no pain. He was passed before he had got wrapped around the tree. So I share this story because about 5 weeks later, we had to make a decision. Like, are we going to continue with this retreat? Like, we're grieving. We're in extreme pain trying to grieve. When we go to retreats, we need to be 100% so that we can pour into everyone. And we're just like, Lord, like, what are we supposed to do here? And we went forward with it, gave every ounce that we had. Darren was there, Matt was there, like everyone pretty much on this workshop was there. And it was such a beautiful retreat in so many ways, where, like, as much of a tragedy, as much of a storm, as much as a setback as it was, such beauty came from it. At his celebration of life, Diana and I got the opportunity to speak about Trav. That day, 20 people gave their life to the Lord at that church, and 5,000 other people were watching online. So I have no idea the impact it made. When it came to Diana and I's life, we were kind of in this stagnant state with Hitch Fit and everything that we were doing. We had tried to do a retreat in 2019. It kind of fell short because the leadership wasn't right. And Trav came along with this bigger than life personality. He's like, dude, we're going to have these retreats and they're going to be awesome. And we were like, dude, we're all in. We just want to be around you and let's pour in. We did our first one and it was just amazing. Holy Spirit and the impact that was made. And to be completely straightforward with you guys, without Trav, I don't know if we would be doing what we're doing right now, at least at this point, because it kind of catapulted us, God speaking through us to say, okay, like it's time to pivot. And it has been a crazy year. Some of you guys can attest to that in your own lives, but I always know with change comes opportunity. And so we've looked at SoulFit and what we're going to do with Lean In Level Up Conference. And I think as you guys look back on your own lives, think about the challenges that you've gone through, whether it be in your business or a change that you're going to make soon, and how that's going to potentially pivot your life. And to have Mathew Park here today to speak. We're just so honored to have you, brother. And yeah, just we love you, dude.
Yeah.
Right back at you guys.
Yeah, I mean, to add to that, we got to meet you for the first time in person
Yes.
on that retreat. And it was such a blessing that you were there with us to walk through that. And I wanted him to share that story, because when we're talking about turning pain to purpose and a business sense, for us, that was one of the greatest business challenges that we have ever faced, and how we had to take that pain and use it for a higher purpose. And I know that, not everybody has probably a story that is quite that extreme, but that's kind of what we're talking about, is like, when we talk pain to purpose, it's not just in it can be in any aspect of our lives. And that's why we wanted you to come on and talk about, like, you work with for those of you who don't know, Matt owns the Trainer Revenue Multiplier business. He is a fitness coach, he is a entrepreneur. He has been, let's see, when did you start?
His bio is so long,
it's
it
so
may take a
long.
while.
I mean, I could
He's
read
done a
it.
lot.
It's like
Leather-bound books.
Leather-bound. He's
Yeah.
read many
Yeah,
leather-bound
for
books.
sure.
No, but you have done a ton of stuff in the fitness industry, helped so many fitness professionals take their businesses to another level. I mean, there's so many layers to what you've done within. I know that you were doing shows, and you were running shows, and all of that, those pieces of things. How many years has it been that you've been in the fitness industry?
20.
So 20 years, in the last 20 years,
Yeah.
just so much experience. And, I know that you've got a lot of value to bring to this conversation. So thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here, guys. I'm so happy to be here right now and see all these amazing faces, and Darren here, and just all you guys here. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and I would just like to just kind of dive right in. We had 3 points. We're talking about our breakthrough strategies for pain to purpose, and the first one that we had talked about, and we discussed this last week too, was finding our hot spots and finding our trigger points and finding those pain points that I use the example of, like, when you work out, you get knots in your back, and they're painful and they hurt, but we go and get massages, and we get those trigger guns, and we have those things that we have to, like, actually go into the knot, and we get the elbow in.
Yeah.
And that's how we break it up and release the pain, is by actually digging into those hot spots and digging into those pain points. And that's how we actually get through and have our breakthroughs. So I just wanted you to share, like, your thoughts on that and just insights that you have on that.
Hot spots is a hot topic, no pun intended, by the way. But it's funny because I'm going to go back just for 20 years for 1 second, because just to kind of give you guys context, I think most bios kind of are heard, and you hear all the successes of a bio. I want to go back for a second here and just say that I'm a farm guy from Alberta, a town of 100 people. I grew up in Alberta with cows, chickens, pigs, and horses. And I was the small town kid who had a big dream. And I mean that cliche, I actually mean that genuinely. And I say where I am now because I've probably had more failures than I've actually had successes in the last 20 years. So the hotspot topic you mentioned, Diana, is I think is very valuable to hear, because we see a lot of stuff, I think nowadays, social media and advertising on all this, I would say, superficial things that show you what success is like. And to me, I've had to grow a lot over, basically as a man, the last few years, being a husband and obviously a father of 2 kids, young children, and moving to a different country has really challenged me and our family in ways that you think, oh, I moved to paradise. Yeah, it sounds great on the outside, but it's a lot of work on the inside. But I go from this small town kid in a small town with cows and horse, all this kind of thing, to where I am now. I, at 18 years old, went from a farm and boldly, with no money, went to California to pursue my dream at 18 years old, with no connections, no people, no money, just to go there with a bold vision. And I went there and was there for 9 months and was a trainer and trained clients and paid the bills right at that time. But over the course of the period, I've experienced, from, you mentioned the bodybuilding show thing, right? Most don't know this, When I started the INBF Canada at 20 years old, I was in school, I had no money, I had no connections. I had just got last place in a bodybuilding show the year before. And I had this dream of having a natural bodybuilding show federation. I wanted to have this natural thing, polygraph and urine testing. And I was like, but I don't know where I'm going to start. But I thought I had this big enough goal that I wanted to give it a go. So I called up Charlie Carollo and Mr. Lowe over at the INBF. I said, I'm this guy from Canada. I want to host the first show. This is cool. Who are you? What's your background? I'm a nobody. So I said, give me 2 years. I'm going to get this first show going. And I say it because in those 4-year period, I had a federation that was, I'm going to call it like a non-tested federation, almost take me down because they didn't believe I actually was who I was. And I got these letters from the president and it was kiboshed. And that's one story, because I was a guy that wasn't this pro athlete, had all these had a bunch of money in the bank. I just wanted to go for a dream. Fast forward 9 years later, I held 45 shows and went from my first show of 18 athletes, almost just barely could make the show happen and didn't even break even at the point, to having 100 and some athletes per show on my 9 years afterwards, and like just building it from nothing. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. And that's one story I have that I want to share, because I think that a lot of people, when they see success, they just see the success, but they don't hear the journey it got there. And TRM was this very similar how I built TRM. Like I actually went to rock bottom before TRM, to be honest, guys. I had just got out of a beverage company that wasn't suiting my values and integrity. And we had this great success, and all of a sudden it wasn't going as hot as I was expected. And I decided to opt out, and with no back up in the bank at 30 years old. So from there, I went out and said, so what's my next move here? You know what I mean? At 30 years old, my vision was to be a millionaire at 30 years old. I was on a millionaire at 30 years old. So I realized like what has to happen here through faith and sitting, I call it sitting in the mud. When you feel pain or you feel challenge, you sit in it, not distract yourself from it. I think Micah knows, because I've also overcome addiction as well over my years. And I've realized that in my 20s, I was going through so many ups and downs and successes and losses and everything else. Now, 38 years old, I call my 20 years university of life. And I'm still going in university still. But I've realized that the first 2 years, from 30 to 32, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was like living off nothing almost. My marriage was kind of almost on the rocks a bit, because we were still living apart. Me and Genevieve, Montreal and Alberta. And I wasn't sure what to do. Like I almost lost my purpose for a while. But then all of a sudden, all these trainers reached out to me for 2 years. They wanted help to grow from their business. They wanted help, all these things. I'm like, I had grown a gym in my mid-20s. I had all these things before. I just forgot about it because of the beverage thing that I was doing with RE7 for all these years. So I just followed my heart. I followed my purpose. And 6 years ago, I decided that I want to pursue TRM. And now it's grown to a very successful business. It was very difficult to get it started, but I'll tell you, it kind of goes back to, if you have a big enough vision, you get through all the challenges, you can pursue it. So I'm kind of going in different directions for you, Diana, but I'm kind of giving some context that I want people listening to not just know that, it's a process, and sitting in the mud is actually a step you take to gain insight and wisdom to become a better self, a version of you.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, I think it's like you sit in the mud, but you don't stay stuck in the mud.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good. And I think it's so important for that's kind of the whole purpose of like the Lean and Level Up conference, and everything we're doing is to show people see success, but they don't see all of those hard things, those really hard things that you've had to go through and that you've had to push through and you've had to figure out in order to get to where you are today. And there's still so much more even to come, and there's going to be more challenges too. But I think that once you've gone through those tough things, it's like you've built resilience up, and that no matter what comes up, like you're going to be able to figure out how to get through it. You're going to have the resources that you need, and because of the foundation that you've built. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
One thing that I absolutely love about you and what I've learned, and we followed you for a long time through Marcus and everything that you were doing. Thank you for sharing that story and all the different things that you went through. I'm always fascinated why some people can pivot out of that. Like, you were in the mud for a while, and you know, what was it that essentially created the pivot for you to continue going forwards? Because so many people, they stay in the mud and then they take some steps backwards, and then, you know, and that's kind of what I'm getting into next, is the second point being the fear of the fumble. And ultimately, like, we're so scared and fearful of failure, or fearful of, hey, if we drop the ball here and turn the ball over, or it doesn't go the way we planned, which I'll tell you, entrepreneurs and business owners, it never fully goes the way that you planned. It just never does. You got to get really good at hitting the curveball. And so ultimately, I would love to hear, you know, just some, you shared some challenges there, some challenges where, man, you made some decisions that, oh man, you fumbled the ball, but you were able to pick that ball back up and then progress forward.
What was the pivot for me was when I was in that period of 2 years figuring out my next move. I was in prayer a lot. Like, I was in prayer a lot. Basically, like, the mud for me is where I can introspect on who I want, like where I want to go next, right? So hearing the voice, listening to my gut, you know, hearing and feeling, embracing what's next. And it might be the right move, might be the wrong move. But I've pivoted back and forth in my years even with TRM over the years, I've pivoted back and forth. I think the biggest thing is not being scared, that knowing that when you fail, it's okay to fail, right? But don't become a failure, because failure is different. When you fail, because even when you're successful, you're going to fail. But if you define it as that's a bad thing, well, then you're going to always be in fear mode all the time. So I think I've realized that when I go for big goals, or I take big risks, or I invest in people, or I try to, you know, expand the business and things don't go as planned, I'm like, okay, you know, it sucks for a bit, but take it in, learn the lesson. Where can I improve, and move forward? Because life is meant to be lived to the fullest. We all know this. And I think that we live in this box so much in our lives about what people should think of us. Or I was a small town kid, so I was a pleaser of people for all the time. Many years, I'm people pleaser. What people think of me, my comparison mode. So I had to kind of get out of that box. It took me almost a few years to get out of the box of small town Mathew Park into being, that was my past, but now my future is this person, and I choose to be him going forward. So as I go forward, it's okay to make mistakes, but learn from them, but don't forget the vision is up here.
I think it's really powerful too. You may have identified for many, many years, and it may have been fuel for you too at some point, but you identified yourself as Mathew Park from 100-person little town. Like, and I think that prevents a lot of people from going out and achieving success. Whereas, you know, you at some point ended up creating the pivot, and even more so, not even just for you, but to like live out what God's purpose was for you, and to get into that space where you could identify and really hear him in what that was, and how you intertwined your business with your faith. And that's a beautiful thing, man.
Thank you, Micah. Thank you.
With your business, like, I just was thinking of this, like, you're kind of in the business of helping people push through fear points. You know, like, that's what it seems like. That's what it seems like, is like you're helping people take those steps that they're fearful of, or they're not sure how to do it on their own. What is, just kind of off on a little tangent, like, what is one of the fears that you see the most often with the fitness professionals that come to work with you, and how do you kind of coach people through and, like, you know, teach them, like, hey, it's okay to push into this?
That's a good question. I think the first thing, Diana, is making their future bigger than their past. Because if they just focus on their past, they usually can't get out of their past. They get stuck. So that's the first thing. The imposter syndrome definitely is one of the most common that I find for coaches. And the other is they spend way too much time looking at other people. And that becomes a very counterintuitive effect to their own success, hence why they value themselves differently. So we get into, you know, what is their why, and ultimately their future self, and then how do we step into that person step by step and stay aligned to that person. Also reflect on what lessons have you learned in your past, what wins have you achieved that can now pull you forward to a brighter future.
Good. Yeah, and that, I mean, that really can apply to just so many other aspects parts of life too. That's good. Okay, so we'll move from there. I think we got kind of a nice little pivot point for our next key, our next strategy is choosing your tools wisely. Choosing the tools that are going to help you with breakthroughs, that are going to help you push through. And one of the things that we had talked about in the last webinar was how a lot of times people have these walls up in their lives. They have these things they're trying to break through, they're trying to push through, but they come up and they're tapping on the wall like this.
I'm a
It's like,
wall.
but they're like, this is my tool. And I'm like, oh, I wonder why why isn't this wall falling down? Why am I not having my breakthrough? Well, it's because you're not using the right tools. You're not using the powerful enough tools, what I like to call the wrecking ball tools, the ones that come through and they blast right through the wall. And I think that two of the most powerful wrecking ball tools that we have are faith, number one, which, like how you said, that's what got you out of the mud, is going there first, and then fitness. I think those are literally, no matter what the area of our lives is, that we have these walls that are holding us back, these challenges. I think those are two of the most powerful tools. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that and any additional tools that come to your mind that you would add.
So it's funny because how I see fitness now is different than when it was when I was 25. So for me, it's not about winning a bodybuilding show, because I was obsessed with bodybuilding at 25, obsessed. And I still am obsessed with lifting weights. So I love it right now. Fitness is definitely a big part of my life. Although now it's about longevity and health and having more energy and being a better version of me for my family, my kids, and those around me. So fitness is definitely a huge cornerstone for me. Than what it was when I was 25 or 26, at that age. Faith is a cornerstone of strength for me, and also perspective, because I know if I have faith, and obviously I'm taking time to have quiet time in the day, or go for my walk, or go in the pool, and now I actually can go in the pool before I can ever go in the pool. Now I can go in the pool, is I'll actually pray in the pool, as weird as it sounds. I'll actually sit there and I'll look at the sky and like, okay, what answer do you have for me, God, that I need to listen to for you today, to kind of make a choice for my business or my life if I'm stuck in the mud. So it's funny because whenever I get, or I'm facing something in my life, the toolkit I pull out is, number one, is you should go for a quiet time and actually reflect and pray about it. Number one. Number two is I don't react to it. Normally my old self would react to things. Now I let things sink in for a bit and let them soak in. And then the answer usually comes, whether it's that day or the next day, or I'll go in prayer for the night and the answer will show up the next day. Because subconscious mind, or the answer coming through, just always shows me an answer the next day. It's funny to say that out loud. And then the other part, that's why it's important to have guys like Darren and Micah and Diane in your life, guys, is because the people around you, I know it sounds kind of cliche, but it actually is very true. If you're around higher level people, they will make you higher level. Lower level people, sounds bad, but it's going to bring you down. It's truth be told. So you're around people like these three over here, they're going to raise you up. And if you're around the energy of those 5-10 people on a recurring basis, it does help you pull up when you need some pull up once in a while, because we're all humans. We're going to face those times once in a while. So my other toolkit is leaning on my people that I require once in a while, like Marcus as well is a big part as well. Darren, Marcus as well. He's a big part of my life. Those people that can pull you up when you want to be pulled up. So if you can lean on those three things and also have a belief in you as well, faith and belief in you, hence why I have this tattoo on my wrist, believe, okay, is you believe in yourself and also your ability of who you are as a human, because you're going to have those doubts once in a while, and you use faith as your anchor. You will, whether you want to go for a business or you want a relationship or you just want to, whatever that goal is. So I use those tools in my toolkit.
Yeah, that's such a good one too. And I'm glad you said that. We just got back from Tulum last night, and we got to be down there for Thanksgiving. And the other day I was just kind of sitting and looking at the ocean and my journaling and stuff. And one of the things that I was thinking about was just that, who are you surrounding yourself with? And this is a new thing that came to my head that I'm still working around, because I was thinking of, there's people in our lives that are they feast on fear. They feast on fear, and they want you to come to the table, and they want you to feast on the fear with them. Like,
Mhm.
and they're the type of people that you sit at the table and you're like, nah, I don't want that. And then they're like, just try some, just try some. And they will not stop until they get you to take a bite of the fear, because it's what they feast on and they're addicted to it and they can't stop consuming it. And you can tell fear feasters, this is like all new. Like, I haven't worked my brain. Don't, you guys, I better not hear you guys talking about this. But you can tell because they're just, because of the negativity that's coming from them, and so much, you know, just always talking about the bad things, or this could happen or that could happen. So it's pretty easy to identify someone who's a fear feaster. And so we have to really limit our time with those people, or completely eliminate the time with those people if possible. And then we have to look for the faith feasters, the people that are feasting on faith-based things and things that are going to pull you up and that are going to fill you up and that are going to pull your mind back to a place of, oh no, everything is okay. So there's my tangent. I'm glad you said that, because that was one thing that was really on my heart, is like, we really have to be careful of spending too much time with the people that are feasting on fear. And that is a lot of people nowadays. We are surrounded with fear feasters.
It's funny because as you mentioned that, I'm getting also a thought for everyone here, is that, so people is one, but also consumption is the other. Right. So if your consumption, because people is, you know, we can point those out, but when it comes to consumption, Dinah's bang on. If you're feasting on the wrong consumption, that can also affect the same thing as people, end of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I always look at is, like, I think it's really hard for people when we talk about circles and creating the right circles. Like, some of these people you've been friends with for a long time that are more of the fear feasters, some of them are family. Like, and that can be a really difficult challenge, because in a perfect world, we want our family to be in our circle. We want these people that have been with us for the last couple decades in our circle. But the issue is like, they're not getting you to where you want to be. They're holding you down. And so what I always say is, like, you can continue loving those individuals. You can continue praying for those individuals, but they can't be in your circle. They just can't. And that doesn't mean that periodically you don't go and help and you know, try to lift people up. A lot of times when we're in those situations, I go into just truth talk, you know, and see how people respond to that. And they're like, oh yeah, yeah. And then 5 seconds later, they go right back to fear. You know, but I'm like, you know, all I'm trying to do is identify the fact that, like, hey, like, you're leading with this, man. That is bondage. That's not freedom. That is, man, that is a horrible way of living. And there's a lot of people out there that, like, they don't have even one person in their circle that's good. And you know what I'll tell those people is, it's better to go solo than to have a whole bunch of leeches or fear feasters. Like, it just is. Because at least you have no distractions or anyone pulling you down to go and be your best version. And what I'll tell you is, when you become your best version, or you're getting better along the way, God will introduce those people to you and you'll know the difference.
So true. So true. That's good.
Good stuff. So I want to, is anybody got questions or some thoughts just to add to this? Yeah, Darren, you want to unmute yourself and share, Darren?
Well, I'm really enjoying this talk. Like, you know, this is my favorite thing, is to hang out with big thinkers, big hearts. And so I'm really honored just to be listening. So thank you for putting this on, Mike and Diana and Matt. It's always good to hear what you have to say. And there's so many things I just like, yeah, that's a big piece, but I think it's underrated, our groups, you know, and who we're spending time with. And I think it's a tricky thing, as Mike was saying, like, you spend a lot of time with, you grew up with, but not everyone's going the same way. And it's what is true leadership, is knowing, hey, I'm going to give you what I can give you, but I'm not going to do the work. I'm not doing the heavy lifting here. Like I'm going to invite you, and I'm going to enroll you. But at some stage, it's like you're going to take the brunt of the work to do this if you want. And hey, cool if you don't. But I'm going this way, and that's having the leaders out there that you can turn to and go, hey, can I just grab on for a bit? I'm not gonna take from you. Sometimes I just need a hand up, because I'm dealing with a lot. Is to have those people, and after a while, you make the choice. Like, here's where I want to spend my time. This is where I want to spend. If you want to come, I want you to come, but I'm not gonna pull you constantly up. So thank you for how you guys are putting it. It really landed for me today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. That's spot on. It's spot on. And we've had the opportunity over the years, Matt can attest to this, Darren as well in his own life, of just like a lot of what we do, and Jessa obviously is like there's such a therapy aspect of what it is we do when we bring people through transformation, whatever that may look like. And goodness gracious, like the amount of people, what we're talking about right now, the amount of people, I almost get them prepared. And it's really the females that are even worse. Like you get this female that's going through transformation. She has 50 pounds to lose. Like she is in an unhealthy place. Mentally, she's not where she needs to be. And in this circle of so-called friends, they're like cheering her on. And then all of a sudden she starts losing weight. And then all of a sudden they start getting insecure. And then all of a sudden they're bashing her and they're whatnot. And this happens in the guy space too. But now it happens so often, we just prepare them mentally for what is about to happen, and that can be scary because they're like, oh, I grew up with these people and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, but 3 days a week, you're going out and drinking with these people. And like, where is that going to get you? The same place you're at now or worse?
Yeah. True. So Matt, while we have you here, I also wanted to ask you just if you would share about, we have the business stuff, but you also just made a massive move with your family from Canada to the Cayman Islands. And I know that there had to have been some hot spots and some fears and some things that you had to lean into to make all of that happen.
Yes. It's funny because when we came to the retreat for you guys, we were in the middle of the heat of the battle I'm going to call it the battle, because last year in December 27th, we made a decision, me and Genevieve, are we actually going to move or not? Because we talked about this for the last year. Like it's always been like, are we not going to do this? So we made a pact and said, we're going to do the move. Like it's today. What's the day? We booked our flights that day in 6 months to make an entire life move. And for, I think it was July the 1st, actually, we were flying out to the Cayman Islands. So made the decision. Literally the next day, we was already selling stuff. We sold everything we owned in the house. We sold everything. We sold our cars. We got the kids enrolled in school. Because over here in the Caymans, it's like you have to get your kids enrolled a year in advance, or else you'll be in a list to wait for 2 more years. So it's really difficult to kids. And also school down here is a lot to do kids in school. So it's funny because we were selling stuff, got the company open down here, and then the retreat happened. And that was kind of our small break. But I remember the dinner we had before we left the retreat, and Dan's like, babe, are you ready to go? Because when we get back, it's going to be go time, babe. I was like, I'm ready. Actually, I was kind of ready. So I got back, literally, she was like, shh, go. And so here's where God came in, because we planned to fly out July 1st. We had our permits waiting to get them approved for temporary work permits to actually fly down here and live, right? Well, we forgot, well, not forgot, but once it was kind of missed around the end of May, so it put us back a few more weeks. And of course, in Cayman, they're a bit slower to get stuff done here. So we never got our permits till the middle of July. So we actually camped in the campground for 2 weeks with no guarantee of actually even having a place to live, with 2 children, waiting for the permits to come through in a tent. And it was a very unique faith experience, because Jen's like, babe, what if they don't actually come through? I'm like, oh, good point. We'll find a place to live, I guess, somewhere in Canada. So somewhere in Montreal. They came through. I think the whole campground probably heard us yelling because we were screaming. I ran out my tent. I was like running with my shirt off, all the kind of stuff. And then the next day we actually booked our flights to go out, because we actually pre-booked our flights for the 15th of July, not knowing if we're actually going to fly out, because we got the permit the day before. We had to rent a car on an hour after we got the permits, and then drive from Montreal to Toronto, fly out with 14 bags and a van full of bags We got to the airport and then the desk is like, are those all your bags? And I'm like, yeah. And you could see almost like a ghost because she's like, you have all those bags, 14 bags? So literally, yeah. So we got those bags on the plane, got here. And it's just been more of like the second stage now is of actually living here permanently, because now it's like full permit status now in the process. So you go from Canada where, you know, it's with 2 children. You know, I told you, if you're alone or with a partner, it's, you can, you know, it's still difficult, but it's a different process. You bring kids within the process, it's a whole different ballgame. So that's where faith really kind of came in big time for us, because we didn't have any guarantees. And now we're here, and now we're making our next step to actually stay here permanently, which I was telling you, Diana, in a voice note, that this next month is kind of like putting all the eggs in the basket for one more round to get the final official 1 year. When that's done, then we're actually good to go here for the next 3 years.
That's faith.
That's faith.
That literally is faith. You have no guarantees. You just like put her on the line.
Man.
That's crazy.
Why the Cayman Islands? Just what was that, someplace you guys had gone? And
so we always had a dream to live by a ocean, and we tried Cali for a vacation, tried Florida, didn't like any of those places. We just thought it was just not our jam. And then we came here because we had 2 friends that lived here. So we came here for a month, a year and a half to almost 2 years ago to Cayman. And we just felt like it was like, it's a small island. It's still very modernized. But people here are so nice. Like, they're just like, they make you feel like home. I'll be walking down the street. I'll talk to a guy from the UK the whole time, and all of a sudden, oh, take care. See you later, buddy. High five. See you later. And that's how it is everywhere you go on the island. Everyone's just so friendly. If your car broke down, the guy will stop and help you, like, with no questions asked, you know? And with kids, school here is great. So we picked it because lifestyle was important for us. We wanted to like go for what we really want in our life, not just a secondary, but like go for the true want. And for business, I just feel more productive in a place like this. So we just went all in. And even our place we have here, we were told, you're never going to get a 3-bedroom place here. Like, it's literally impossible to find a 3-bedroom home. And I said, okay, we're going to find a place. It was last January. Well, we'll find it. I believe in my heart. And literally it was actually right before the retreat. It was the end of March. Nadine sends me a text saying, I got a friend who's putting their place up for rent. Here's the link. Go check it out. I checked it out, and it was a 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 1 den, and a freaking almost like a 1-thing garage by a little pool. And it was in our budget. And I was like, I'm going to deposit for this place. We actually made the deposit in the retreat when we saw you guys, and everyone told us you're never going to find a place because it's impossible. There's no places to rent. So that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Wow. I love that.
That's amazing. And Brandon said he's gonna make sure it's
over.
big because he's coming.
Brandon is coming over.
I think everybody in this workshop right now wants to come and visit.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool. Very cool story. Thank you for sharing that. I want to just give people, I'll be sharing this video with everybody that wasn't able to be on here with us live. So I want to put the opportunity out for everybody I want to share about our Lean and Level Up conference, and Matt is going to be there with us as one of our speakers. Darren's going to be there too. Marcus is going to be there. I mean, it's like going to be wild times is what I can say. Jason, I know that you're going to be coming and joining us there. So super excited to see you there too. It's going to be very impactful. And then for those who are not with us, I'm going to try to do my share screen. We'll see if I can actually do it. Maybe we'll see if this works. But so for the people that I'm going to be sending this out to, we do have a little bonus for you for being a part of the workshop series here. And so anybody that is wants to come to Lean and Level Up, it's going to be January 26th through 28th in Tampa, Florida. As you can see, we have an incredible lineup of speakers, and we're really diving into a lot of the topics that we are covering here tonight and that we're going to be covering in workshops that are coming up, of just leaning into these things in our lives and figuring out the tools, finding these tools that we need to break through so that we can actually actually level up. And that's one of the reasons we're doing this whole workshop series, is to just give even more insight and more value from our incredible lineup of speakers that are going to be there with us. So the website is leaninlevelup.com, and then the coupon code PURPOSE gives $150 off of any of those tickets. And then Micah and I are also doing a little private group coaching call that we'll do sometime towards the end of December. So anybody who signs up for the conference is going to also get to do a little private coaching call with us, where we can kind of dig into some things and just do a little bit more work there. So I don't know. Nope, I don't want to leave the meeting. How do I get back? Oh, I've got to stop the share. Forgive my technology difficulties. So we got that going on. And does anybody on here, Brandon, do you have questions, or Jason, questions for Matt? Anything that's coming to mind while we're chatting here that you'd like to ask them? Paula, anything you have?
I really don't have any questions, but I just really appreciate him sharing the story. The biggest thing take away for me is the setting in the mud thing. That really resonated with me, because I and Micah and you, Diana, can attest to this. I've sat in the mud a lot, especially when it comes to taking my me being a better version of myself seriously. So Matt, I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you, Diana and Micah, for putting this thing on. It's amazing.
We love you, brother. And make sure to go back and watch the front. The first story was about Trav.
Well, I have
Antonio.
So that's why it wasn't on before.
Yes.
But I will go watch it. Definitely. Will it be on, Diana, will you put it on Facebook? Is that where it's going to be mainly?
I'll probably take snippets, but I'll take the full thing and then I'll email it to everybody so that you can watch it back too.
Perfect. I appreciate everybody on here. Thank you.
Thank you,
You bet.
Brandon.
Yeah.
What about you, Paula? Any takeaways or questions or takeaways?
No question, but what I took away from it, like it really hit me hard, because especially about the positivity, because I'm a very positive person. And when I started my transformation, I wasn't prepared to get the people that were around me. Like I had friends that since grade 3, we were together and hanging out. And during my transformation, I changed the way I ate. I drink more water, everything else. And I noticed while I was changing and level up, they almost sort of were discouraging. They were cheering in the beginning, but then discouraging. And that was a huge hit for me, knowing that the lifestyle that I wanted in what I had in my mind as a goal, they were supportive in the beginning, but then even family members, they even tried to deter me to think, oh, are you sure this is healthy? You're going to look sick if you lose this much weight. Are you sure what you're doing is safe? And it's like, oh, first you guys were cheering me, but then now, and then I've learned as well to keep a medium level with the relationships, because those people who would go out and drink, I don't drink. We are somehow to be able to get a medium between the two of us to just, meet at Face Point and just be cooperative with one another and just keep things as positive as possible. But I noticed, just like you said, the negativity part was a big takeaway for me. Just like even with my work has to deal with disaster and chaos, and there's a lot of negative people there. And just having this as a backup to say, okay, you know what, this is something normal. This is something that we see. That was a big takeaway for me. So thank you so much for that.
Good. Thank you for sharing. Jason, what about you? What takeaways or questions for you?
The takeaway I got, the sitting in the mud part, where that was resonated with me. As you know, Micah knows, I'm at the point of actually changing a career that I've done for over half my life, and not having a fear of fumbling the ball. That's something I'm literally dealing with right now, trying to figure out what my next move is, and all that fear that I'm facing, trying to make that decision and line things out. So yeah, it's not. There's always more people that have been through it, and it's nice to hear the fear feasters. I got those in my life. I'm sure we all do. I've got some in my family. Yeah, especially when you start losing the weight, all of a sudden there's excuses from other people saying, "Oh, you're doing steroids, or you're doing something different, or you're starving yourself. You don't look healthy." Yeah, it's almost comical at this point. But no, everything it's taken away from this is outstanding. I absolutely love this one.
Mhm.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's that goes back to Matt's point of just like, you're now working on surrounding yourself with people that are going to lift you up. And, that's why we want you in our circle, so that we can continue supporting you and lifting you up. And, so it's just that awareness of, okay, I see what's happening here. People trying to pull me down. I'm not going to let them. And I'm going to just keep pushing forward and just find those people, because they're out there. We're here, but they're there. Jason Hodge, like there are people that are there supporting you and are the ones that are going to pull you forward.
Something else to be prepared for, Jason, is like the better you get, the worse it becomes.
Yeah.
Like there's a level that they're comfortable with. Okay, there's some changes, right? We lose another 60, 70 pounds, they're going to lose their minds. Like they're going to, and you figure out who are your people and who aren't. I mean, unfortunately, and then you'll have this group that are like, dude, I'm so inspired by you. I need to change my life too, and you'll have those. So you kind of are fueling yourself with those people and kind of letting the other people kind of go.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The ones all that matters is the ones that fire, the ones that bring me down. Yeah, apparently I don't need them in my life, so I'm ready to end those relationships pretty quick.
Oh man, I can't wait for you to go to the retreat, dude. Like you're going to be amongst a gigantic group of just really amazing people. It's probably, you may not have ever been around this many people that all want the same and common, outcome, which is just impacting your life in a positive way. Like it's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
So I'll say one more thing. One thing that has always stuck with me about, Micah and obviously Trav, but is burning that bridge. People will try to bring you back. They will, especially your buddies that, you've been drinking with, or, just have been in life with. They'll try to drag you back. At some point, you got to burn that bridge. And like Micah said, sometimes it's sad. And I've learned that from being around Micah and him like coaching me and mentoring me through that, because sometimes it's not fun. But if you're going to go on a journey, you don't want to be stuck in that mud.
Yeah.
That's right. Darren, what's your takeaway?
Well, that Matt's awesome. But I already knew that. So is it a new takeaway? I think just hearing it in different ways. And one of the things I think we're kind of passing over pretty quick, but is that Matt is like, he's a mindset guy. And I think a lot of what we're talking about is mindset, but if people are like, what's one tip to kind of get going the right way on mindset? I think we have the right person for that question. So I'm gonna throw it out there, man.
One tip?
Yeah, what's the main tip? Like I gotta get my mind right. Like for all of this to work, all the stuff we're talking about, and definitely these ideas, the hotspots and the fear of the fumble, and I love all this. And choose your tools. We're all talking about mindset, but I think there's also like a prep. It's almost like stretching before you start working out. Like, hey, you can just start working out, but that could be a problem. But is there something we can do to sort of prep us in the world of, hey, I want to expand, I want more, I want new. Is there anything you can give us there? And don't hear this as, Matt knew this was coming. This is like, hey, over to you, buddy.
We
But
love you, Darren. We love you, buddy.
you're welcome.
Yes, I have two quick ones for everybody. First is get your, so look over your last year from January 1st till now, and I want you to write down all of the wins, the successes you've had, things you've learned, 20 things. Like get into a gain mindset of basically getting yourself in that place where you actually feel empowered before you set your future self up. Secondly, then create your story. Think of it as December 31st of 2024. Write your story as if it already happened a year from now, and that literally is your tip. Because if you can get into the game of your great mindset, then from there step into the story of you. Now you're setting yourself for actual success because it's your place to go into, nobody else's.
Seemed good.
Thanks, brother.
So
I appreciate it.
thank you.
Yeah, that's excellent. I love that. So, and just, yeah, that was really kind of a perfect conclusion. Matt, would you just share, where can people find out more about you, and just a little wrap up of how to reach you, who you help, and how they can get connected with you?
No problem. So my Instagram is official Mathew Park with 1 T. The company is Multiplier and .com. Pretty easy. And we do help fitness professionals, gym owners, and fit pros grow their businesses. That's really our 4 things that we do, or the things we do for the actual trainers. And if you guys are watching this or you're on right now, the conference in general will absolutely be a game changer, guys. You guys got to come be a part of this. Seeing how Diana and Micah actually have transferred and pivoted this into where it is now is impressive. My hat goes off to what you guys have done in a very short period of time to get this to where it is right now. I know putting on events is a lot of work. I've done them before, and it takes a lot of effort and like courage to go in all in. So just want to thank you for having Darren and I and the rest of us on the call with you. We're really honored to be here to support you guys, and it's going to be an amazing event, period.
Well,
You can add one thing on that. This is not a sales pitch, but we talked today about where do you get your 5? Like, if you become the 5 of the people you spend your most time with, imagine going to a conference where there's hundreds of people who are going the same way as you and want the same things you do. It is unbelievable how quick things shift when you start upping your game with people who are upping their game. And the quickest way, as someone who went to the Mexico retreat and was like, "What is this?" and walked out going, "I get what this is." I'm here as a sales billboard now to say, if you want to move, if you want to shift, get to this as fast as you can.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for that. I literally could not have said it better. It's like, it's the mission, it's the goal. And like you said, it's one thing for us to gather here on Zoom and see each other on screens. It's a completely different experience when we are together in person and we are doing this work in person, when we are digging in. And how do you find your 5? Like, that's it. Like, come to a place where there's amazing people that all are trying to dig in and level up and want to help you and want you to be better. So yeah, I would love to see everyone at Lean and Level Up. It's leanandlevelup.com, January 26th to 28th in Tampa, Florida. That coupon code PURPOSE gives $150 off. And I just thank you so much, Matt, for being here. Thank you for sharing your insight and your wisdom, and just so much value from the experiences that you've gone through. And I encourage everyone, please follow him, look him up. It's especially if you're in that fitness space and looking for help, there's no one better to help you level up your business in the fitness space. So just Trainer Revenue Multiplier, please look them up and check out what they're doing. And we thank you guys. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will see you all again next time.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Boom.
Love you guys.
I love you
week.
too.
Thank you so much. This was amazing.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you soon. Good night.
Good night,
Later, guys.
Everyone, thank you again.
guys.